Why Olympians are so broke. This is a topic that I've been pretty it's been pretty widely debated, especially among my friend group because we've had a lot of people wanting to go to the Olympics. I know a few people that have.
Some Olympians make millions of dollars. But a recent global study of 500 elite athletes found that nearly 60% did not consider themselves financially stable.
We're not sponsored athletes on cereal boxes and Gatorade bottles.
I started driving for DoorDash.
I worked at Panera, a bank. The financial strain is huge.
That's because unless they win a medal, Olympians don't get paid for competing at the games.
Again, this is what I was talking about in the beginning. If they don't get paid for competing at the games, where do they get paid? They have to get paid from a job. They have to get paid from some sort of sponsorships if they're lucky, like that cheese girl, the Italian girl who was winning the gymnastics, and she was already sponsored by a cheese brand. And like, if you have that, it's a little bit different because she's also quite pretty. And if you're quite pretty, it's easier to get sponsored, which is another thing. So if you're an unattractive, incredibly skilled, let's say javelin thrower,
You see someone that's on television all the time and assume all Olympic athletes are famous. All you have to do is get a medal and you'll be rich. And nothing could be further from the truth.
They also have a long list of expenses to train for their sport.
I can attest for this one. If you want to be a really good judoka, you have to get private lessons from a person that has either been to the Olympics or won world championships, etc. Because who are you gonna be taught by? You do want to be taught by some random Joe Smo, or do you want to be taught by the person who has been there and done it? That's expensive. A judo kimono and a gi isn't so expensive. Let's say 200 euros or something. But like every private lesson could be easy 100 euros. Easy 100 euros. And if you now have to consider other sports like bobsledding, then you have to have the sled itself, you have to have the gear for everybody, you have to have the constant maintenance, you probably have to have somebody making sure that the rails are constantly well maintained. Like you see here, I know that in kendo, the suit is quite expensive in general. So if the suit is quite expensive and the maintenance is quite expensive, you end up having to pay maybe a few €1,000 for the stuff you need. Now suddenly you have to work for that money because you have to eat and you have to live, and then you have to have kendo lessons, and then you have to have your teammates, or maybe let's say you have hired a teammate because you know certain people will have certain styles, so you're practicing against it. So now you have a lot of money going out.
You also are responsible for your coach and making sure that they are paid and compensated accordingly.
Yep.
Massage therapist, nutritionist, something
Yeah,
like
yeah.
$250,000 earnings turns into 125 really quick.
So how do Olympians make money? And why isn't it enough? Unlike countries such as the UK or Singapore, American Olympians don't get paid to attend the Olympics.
If you're not going to be able to afford it, and if you're not doing well, there's like 6 other people waiting in line to have the opportunity.
We are the only major country in the world, and one of very few countries, period, where the government does not get involved in funding its Olympic team.
Isn't that interesting? I actually don't know any Olympians from here over here in Europe, so it's a bit difficult for me to attest to what they're saying here, but I believe them, don't get me wrong. It's interesting because most of the Olympians I've known have been American. So it seems very, again, backwater hick ideology here, because let's be honest, when I see America, I don't see land of the home of the brave, land of the free, or whatever you guys say. I see a backwards place where you can barely survive if you have to go to the hospital. I see a place where the GMOs are so sprayed on the food that people don't know what actual food is anymore. I see a place where schools get shut up on the monthly. Like, I don't see this amazing thing that you guys might see. And it's a bit of a frustrating thing, because Americans believe that they're the only place in the world that has some sort of freedom of speech. Like, you're allowed to say what you mean. But I mean, that's a basic thing. And yeah, I'm sure there's some European countries that do it badly. But really?
To our very top athletes, around $4,000 a month, plus performance bonuses.
An Olympic gold medal rower told USA Today she receives $2,000 a month. Monica won bronze at the Rio 2016 Olympics.
You get a stipend, and it is $300 a month.
How much funding an athlete?
I mean, how much can you really do on 300 a month? Really, realistically. Like, I don't think that even pays for your food as an athlete. Like, when I used to train full time, holy schnitzel, it was not the same. Like, if I go and I train full time, the food amounts were, I mean, 300, I don't think even would have covered half of my food at that point. And that was 10 years ago. So what's it going to be now?
Athlete gets depends on performance and
Their ability is to be able to earn medals. So it's a tough kind of, balancing act that the interviews are doing to figure out, how do we support the athletes that are up and coming, but then also how do we make sure that those who are doing awesome right now are well cared for.
Lauren Williams competed in Olympic track and field and bobsled.
Let's be really nice and say you do one lesson a day, even though you probably should do more, and that would be what, 700 a week, 7, so that's 14, 21, 28, so 2,800 just there in lessons. And then you have to fix your bobsled and everything. Let's say that's 1,000, no, let's actually be very nice here. Let's say that's 500 a month, and you have 4 people, so that's 100 a month. Then your gear and your if you crash your helmet, you need to get a new helmet. That's probably another 300 a month. Let's not say 300 a month. Let's say 100 a month again. So let's say 200 on equipment upkeep and maintenance. So at least there you almost have 3. You have 3 grand actually in expenses. That's not even food or any of the other coaches, just the head coach. So it's pretty fucking wild how little these people are making. If there's a stipend on 300, that's insane.
She was the first American woman to win medals in both the Summer and Winter Olympics.
Oh, that's cool.
Funding was quite different between
That's
the
really
two.
cool.
So bobsled is a much smaller Olympic sport, and so there's 3 medals that we can earn.
Compare that to track and field, where 128 American athletes are headed to the Olympic Games, competing for 48 gold medals.
In swimming, there's a lot of money. Gymnastics, there's a lot of money. NBA, I mean, we don't even have to cover that one.
No, we
it's
don't.
It's the niche sports that really struggle the most.
Athletes can also make money through sponsorships. A company covers some of their athletes' expenses in exchange for its logo on the athlete's uniform. More often, these sponsorships are performance-based, meaning an athlete has to win a certain number of competitions. Athleta now sponsors Simone Biles. TYR Sport sponsors Katie Ledecky for $7 million.
Oh, that's pretty good
2K Sports and Nike sponsor Kevin Durant, who rakes in $40 million in sponsorship money.
I'm going to stop it there a little bit because the NBA is not the Olympics, so I'm assuming they're making a point here somewhere, but right now, as I'm seeing it, is just, a lot of them make a lot of money in the NBA, and it's not like they're dying over there. So let's, maybe keep it to the Olympics
Every year.
Some of us as athletes have been really fortunate to gain individual sponsorships. That's been hard to come by because people don't know water polo.
Sponsorship deals among athletes are inconsistent, ranging from hundreds of dollars to millions.
I've seen athletes get very upset because, they've performed really well, better than their competitor even, but the competitor has a lot more sponsorship opportunities.
Sadly, it doesn't always happen to be the best people that get sponsored. It happens to be the most interesting people.
It can literally be you have a huge following on Instagram, or you
Of course
just
it can
be so
be.
good
That's
that it's
ridiculous.
undeniable.
Ultra chocolate.
Nailing a coveted sponsorship is hard. Athletes have to go out and get their own sponsors.
Yeah, but that's not weird.
Fine.
Listen, this sounds a little bit whiny to me because that's like this with every single place in the world. And don't get me wrong, I'm saying the Olympic athletes should be sponsored by their own country as well. But I'm saying that getting individual sponsorships has always been like this. It's not like you can just go out somewhere and just get an Olympic sponsorship for no reason. Nobody's entitled to give you shit. So that means that when you are getting stuff, there's a reason for it. You're either popular, you're either good, you're either annoying. Even the Dr. Disrespect is a great example of this. He's gonna come back. Well, he just came back, and now what's going on? He went into the real villain era. So people are still gonna watch him because he's entertaining. He's probably gonna get sponsors in the end again,
Finally, athletes can win prize money. Competitions leading up to the Olympics, like the Diamond League meets, can have $10,000 first place prizes.
For me, when I
mean,
get
that's
prize
not that
money, I
much.
have to immediately disperse that to bills and savings. And I also have to think about, I can't lose or I can't come in a certain place because I have
Yeah.
to make a certain amount of
That's
money
another
to either
problem we
break
have here.
even or to gain a profit. So always going into a race with that is an immense amount of pressure.
The International Olympic Committee doesn't award athletes cash prizes for medals, but some countries do. The United States is one of them.
You know, the USOPC has
It's like performance bonus, baby. If you get a medal, you get money. If not, you suck balls and you're gonna die alone in some ditch.
something called Operation Gold. So if you earn a medal at the Olympic Games, there's prize money for the top 3 places there.
In every sport, the USOPC awards a $37,500
Okay, that's not bad.
medal bonus for gold, $22,500 for silver, and $15,000 for bronze. But the
I mean, these are
USA's
fine-
medal bonuses
fine.
are lower than what other nations offer.
Oh shit!
It's a
Singapore gives $1
one-time
million?
payment.
And those bonuses are only up for grabs every 4 years, when the Olympics come around again. So what kind of consistent salaries do athletes get?
It's not consistent at all.
Well, it's hard to say. But we do know, in 2012, half of the U.S. track and field Olympic team made $15,000 or less a year from the
Okay,
sport,
so that's terrible. That's terrible.
including stipends, prize money, and sponsorships. Compare that to the salary of USA Track and Field CEO, who earned $1.2 million
Of course.
in 2018. Plus, there are also hefty costs associated with competing at this level.
And also,
15 to 20
if you get one injury, you're out. Like you get an ACL tear, you get an MCL tear, you get a tear of your meniscus, you pull your Achilles heel, anything, you're out. So, it's real bad.
20% generally goes to your agent, so that's money that's doesn't exist anymore. And then you also have to pay taxes.
Coaches
Of
can
course,
cost
taxes,
more
yeah.
than $100 an hour.
See?
That
That's what I was
bobsled
talking about.
Lauren competed in cost about $30,000.
Oh shit! Okay, I missed a lot on that monetary mark there because I did think that the bobsleds was going to be like 2 to 5k. That 30k mark there is ridiculous. But if you have that and you don't even win gold,
If I got to get shoes every 2 to 3 months, that's $200, $300.
There's the price of gym time, massage and sports medicine appointments, dietitians, lots of healthy food, you name it. In 2012, U.S. News and World Report
yeah, a lot of-
found
it's
it
very
costs
expensive.
up to $100,000 a year for athletes to be Olympians.
During
Yeah,
the course
that makes
of my
about
career,
sense.
I was really fortunate. I never earned less than $250,000. But there's a lot of expenses associated with being an athlete because
Very
you are,
much
in
so.
fact, a business. And a business has overhead. Something like a $250,000 earning turns
Jesus
into
Christ.
$125 really quick.
Many athletes have turned to crowdsourcing to
that's really sad that your Olympians have to crowdsource.
supplement their incomes. Monica started one to fund her way to Tokyo. It's now
Jesus
up to
Christ.
$30,000. Aaron's GoFundMe helped finance his way to the Olympic track and field trials in July.
Man, this
In
is
a
some
matter
sad shit,
of
honestly.
22 hours, I want to say it was. I had all the money that I needed, and it was such a wow moment for me.
But most athletes have to take on part-time work.
Working a part-time job at Shields, which is an all-sport store here in Iowa City.
A lot of girls on our team are coaches.
Yeah.
I
Of course,
own a
because you make
business.
money being
And
a
the pay
coach.
gap among athletes has only worsened during the pandemic.
A
Of
lot
course.
of hourly jobs went away for a good period of time during COVID. And then there was training facilities being shut down.
I would ref competitions here in New York City, but all of them were canceled, so I wasn't making money from that.
Yeah, so you can't be teaching people, you can't be doing anything with what you have, and then you can't basically train with your coaches as easily as you have to do it over Zoom. And let's be honest, it's not going to be the same.
I mean, I didn't even have ways of making money for rent. I mean, everything was shut down, like even social media, companies weren't even paying for us to be putting out different campaigns, so it was definitely rough.
Those meets that I thought I would be able to get in and clean up and,
The sad truth is, as much as I agree with all these Olympians here, I think the arts kind of suffered the same fate. Loads of theaters were shut down. You couldn't do live performances. The only thing you could do was on YouTube, but you couldn't get people together to make anything. So it's really sad in that sense. A lot of things died over COVID, and it's just how it is. Like, I mean, athletes were hit, but arts were hit hard, and a lot of service industries were hit really hard, and yeah. I don't think they get paid enough because the market isn't big enough. I'm not sure if that's necessarily the truth, because the Olympic Games it's like, what was it, 20 billion they paid this year or something like that to fix it. So if even if they put a 1% fee, that, let's say 20 billion, 1% has to go to the athletes. So if it's a 1%, That's 200 mil. I think Singapore has done a really good job with the statistics they had here. The fact that they were actually giving a whole million to the winners, that will motivate you a hell of a lot more than 37K, not gonna lie. If I was gonna be a millionaire if I got gold, I'd be like, fuck yeah. 10% went to cleaning the river, and they still didn't get clean. And it still did not get clean. God damn, they fucked up that one, I think.
Make money I didn't have. It really set me back financially.
It's left Olympians and their families struggling to make ends meet.
I've been raised by a single mother since I'm 8 years old, so she definitely was funding everything when I was younger. I mean, she went to credit card debt because of me.
I feel like I am one of the
money
best in
from
America.
that?
So if I can do that while I'm at one point working 2 jobs and DoorDash and everything like that, then I can imagine what I can do if I didn't have to do that.
There's times where I don't even have
That's
money
true.
in my bank
That
account.
is very true.
Things have shifted a bit to help athletes. At the 2018 Games, the USOPC upped the medal bonuses by 50%. They changed the rules so athletes won't be taxed on their medal bonuses if
that's
they
good.
make
That's
under
really
$1
good.
million annually. U.S. Olympians used to have to pay as much as $8,900 in taxes on a gold medal bonus.
But that's the
IOC
problem.
has recently eased
Everybody
Rule
pays
40,
taxes.
which prohibited athletes from making money off their image rights before, during, and after the Olympics.
What the fuck?
But now, athlete sponsors can run certain ads during the Rule 40 period. And in 2020, the USOPC launched the Athlete Marketing Project.
It just sounds like they got a lot of backlash, and now they're like, oh no, we're actually thinking of something. Athlete Market Project.
Which better connects athletes with sponsors. But the moves haven't been sweeping enough. Phil thinks that some of the funding for Team USA should come from the US government.
That money could ensure that our US Olympic team are treated equally to their level of achievement, are treated to a salary that is appropriate for them representing this country.
Okay, fair
Across America, athletes are facing a decision. Is it
Stop.
all worth it?
Basically. No, it's not.
27 times
It really
over,
isn't.
yes, yes, and yes. Even if it was half the income, I don't think that I would regret for one moment having.
Okay, this is one thing I do not like at all. Because she's saying, I would never have not done it. But think about all the athletes that didn't win and failed and popped their ACL and meniscus and now have a long-lasting injury in their right foot or left foot or both feet. And they didn't manage to get to the Olympics because, well, they injured themselves 2 weeks before or 5 months before. And then they stopped. And now they can't do it again unless they're doing it for the next Olympics. But by that time, there'll be athletes that have been training while you were injured. It's not a nice world, the athletic world, especially fighting. I have so many injuries and I didn't even go pro. Actually, the reason why I didn't go pro was because of the injuries.
Participated in sport.
I get to play the sport I love every single day. That's wealth. That's being rich. But
Is it?
I wouldn't
Is
be
it?
upset if in the future we were able to make some more money and not necessarily have to have 2 jobs.
It kind of puts a chip on my shoulder to go even harder to compete at the best and compete with the best so that I can take myself out of this position.
That's my only question of the next 3 years of, do I continue another 3 years of being broke? I want to go back. I want to have the opportunity to win an individual medal, but is it worth being broke again?
Nope, it really isn't.